does your pitch actually make a promise at all? So are you actually, like I said, the aroma, the open door, the house people want to explore? Man, I want to go in there and see what's going to happen. Like, I'm really interested in this. I'm going to pick this book up and I'm going to be like, I want to read this. Or does it need to have the author's name emblazoned on the cover? And I'm like, oh, I trust him, so I'll check this out. If you're trying to sell a book and you're like, man, I just cannot sell my book. I cannot get people to read the manuscript. I just can't get editors to take this seriously. It's like, well, work on your pitch craft.
Met a ghost of a king on the road when I first fell. Fire burning to my knees I fell. Met a ghost of a king.
Okay, moving on. What are we doing today, Brian?
We're doing, we have already received a number of pitches, so we'll see how many of these we can get through.
Okay.
And we need to come up with a name for this game. A name that strokes the ego of everyone who submitted rather than telling them. It can't be like trash this idea or, I don't know. We can go very boring editor and call it revise and resubmit.
We could do Make Me Famous.
Make me famous. Time for another round of Make Me famous. Not everyone.
What do they win, Bob? Now they're famous.
Now they're famous. Make Me Famous. Okay, that's the name of the game. We're playing Rate My Pitch / Make Me Famous. Not everybody included their name.
Good.
So I put your name if you put it.
It needs to be blind. It needs to be a completely blind reaction. I shouldn't have any prejudices of any kind.
Well, I was going to say, if you knew that a woman wrote it, would that affect your view of this?
It shouldn't.
We heard on the Ashtown Q&A.
we got to make sure that we eliminate it.
We heard in the Ashtown Q&A that sometimes does. Obviously not female, but
yeah, it does.
Okay,
it does. Yeah, I actually just heard from a big streamer that they're just desperate for boy content. No female protagonists. Boys. We need boys. They have some girl content too, but there's actually really a lot of interesting data, but I'm not going to belabor it right now.
Just boys.
Boys.
They've been pushing away from boys for so long.
And it's funny, I've talked about this on SASF before, about how when I started writing, it was, we need books for boys. Boys aren't reading anymore. We're so glad to have you. We're trying to make boys read again. And now we're the place where we're trying to make boys watch TV again. How do we get boys back in front of their screens?
Somebody didn't learn the lesson the first time around, or everybody retired. That's one or the other one. I don't know which it is. Okay. Ready?
Here's a tidbit. Why don't girls watch animation?
Ooh, do they not?
As much as boys do.
I don't know.
Anyway, moving on.
I thought you had an answer for us.
I don't know. I just know that according to one of the biggest players in the game, they're starting to direct the animation only for male audiences, and stuff for female audiences is live action.
Interesting.
But that'll change 6 months from now.
Right.
Anyway, I was like, that's weird.
That is weird. Yeah,
other darker things were said, but I'll leave those out of this. We'll try to keep this a family show.
Yeah, I was gonna go lighter with the fact that no girl that I know would watch Ninjago, and my boys have watched a disgusting amount of it. So
my girls are weird.
Okay, here we go. All right, this is, as we said, Make Me Famous. So we'll find out. Here comes the pitch, and we'll find out how good you are about writing pitches as well, because I'm just going to read them.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to try to pitch them.
Most pitches are bad, so.
Yeah, that's the second name of the game. A dystopian nation where children are chosen by a head corporation to become parts of their handcrafted society. The process takes place when a teacher places an earworm in a young child's head. Then, after much encouragement, the child is chosen to fit their predetermined role. The protagonist will be about the struggles of a free spirit who questions the chosen roles and decides to follow their gifts instead. I think this only has flavor in it. Like, the flavor is some dystopian stuff. Earworms put into children. But the fact that we don't even know if this protagonist is a boy or girl makes it tough for us to know what's going on. And yes, through hardships and challenges, you succeed, but that's kind of just a story. So I'm not sure it has enough. I don't know. How do you evaluate? Do you make this famous, Nate?
Even in a pitch, it's got to be like in a really inviting front door. Like, you don't have to know everything about the house. You have to know enough, and you have to really kind of want to walk in there. A big part of that is like how it's lit and the aroma And so the aroma of a pitch matters a lot. You know, are you drawing it? Do you smell baking bread? Did the realtor throw cookies in the oven before they had the open house? You know.
So this reads a little more like an ingredients list rather than cookies.
Right. So I would become character. Well, this is some of my own prejudice. I just hate plot centric pitches, and I think people do too. But plot centric stuff, conceptual pitches are tough. So they would need to be in a world, one boy, whatever. What about the boy? You know, pitch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory this way.
Yeah.
You know, there's this specific boy with his weird family and 4 grandparents in one bed. And
yeah,
you know, it's like the golden ticket and everything else. So there's such like wish fulfillment and magic and the, you know, all that vibe that shows up in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that would show up in the pitch. And this one's like, okay, so the world sucks. People are putting worms in the ears of children.
Which is a nice image.
One kid resists the worm. The kid is named Neo. Like, what's...
Yeah. Well, I was thinking if we're going to go with this kind of pitch, it's much more like John Christopher Tripod series, where it's like, hey, at age 12, you get capped and these aliens are going to turn you,
into a battery.
Into a battery that you then serve them. And so this boy's about to be capped next week and he runs away. And that's the intro to this dystopian world. So we'd almost have to set up that way of something that's happening.
So a little girl named Susie Q kills her earworm and the earworms of all her classmates. You know, it's like, what's the inciting incident that then takes us into this adventure? Like, who's the person? What's she like? You know, it's
because the little girl who could do that that's a
I'm
fun
already
character.
kind of like, actually, and the reason why I went with the little girl is because it's an earworm. So a little boy who, you know, ate his earworm or something and ate everyone else's earworms. It's not a little boy we want to hang out with, but the little girl who crushes the earworm and then removes and crushes all the other earworms and, you know, leads a revolution. Her name is Joan D'Arc.
She's a small French girl.
Little Frenchie. But yeah, anyway, you want to like lead with a character. There's world situation, and then you want to get that character in there, and you need to, even in the pitch, you need to have the character be a character that we can care about. Like, without having fully enfleshed that character, you can feel the locus of your care would go right there. Yeah. I would care about that kid. I would care about that kid in that story.
She describes this as a black sheep kind of story where the one who doesn't fit in, a wild boy, upsets the order of things because he's determined not to fit in.
So I'd tell you this. You just gave away that it's a female.
Oops.
And I already knew that.
How did you know that?
Because of the pitch, the way the pitch was.
Okay.
So anyway, next pitch.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, if you really built out the character and made us care about the character a lot, then you could plan something here. There's nothing wrong with the structure of it because there's not enough that's concrete. You know, it's like it could get really bad really fast, or it could be great. Do you build the world out well? Do you actually make us care about this kid? And are those hardships and trials actually
exciting,
like, surprising, exciting, compelling? As long as they are, they can be fun.
And again, a Christ-centered lifestyle, that's always to me a bit of like hey, don't shoot for a Christ-centered lifestyle at the end of your short story or
that's a bit of a Jesus juke at the end. Don't, you know, just
like, what's the problem? What are they solving? Because
just be faithful.
Yeah. If they're getting rid of lots of earworms, that's already Christ-centered.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Here we go. A hero's adventure fantasy story. Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Stranger Things. Our world is slowly colliding with another world full of draconic monsters. Portals, which are tears in reality, begin to open from one world to the other. Rinten, a 17-year-old boy, learns he's the reincarnated hero of myth known as the Icon when a menacing priest arrives in his remote village to seal one such tear. With his new friend, who is a mysterious escaped slave girl from a foreign land, Rinten must set out into the unknown world, evading the church along the way, piecing together the memories of his past lives, and following clues left by his former selves to uncover why the worlds are colliding and prevent a dire prophecy from coming true. I said I wasn't going to edit these, but I am editing kind of on the fly, just tweaking a little.
There's a lot of eggs in that one.
Yeah. So you're saying the crux of what do we care about is stated as our world's about to crash into Dragon World.
So the worlds are colliding. Okay. Like I kind of want to see a physical image of that. Like what exactly do you mean? I would love for it not to be just a Spider-Verse thing.
So Rinten is sitting in his living room. That's what I keep thinking of.
Rintin.
He's sitting in his basement playing video games and a portal opens to a Dragon World. That's right there. Something we can kind of see, I guess.
I would,
More Stranger Things.
Even there, I would make it cooler than that and not something that we've seen before. So if the worlds are colliding, means two different spaces are colliding, then different parts of the worlds will win in that collision, like a Toyota and a semi-truck. There will be places, if the two worlds are colliding, where our world wins and places where the other world wins. And so if there's a collision and it's like things are shaking, shivering, the walls coming, and actually an entire new promontory of another space is starts to just crush our kid's house. And he was getting out climbing up the basement window and out the window well. And then the whole thing is just gone.
And smashed.
And just, smashed, but then just replaced. Like it's all in the other space and there's something from the other space that's now here. So whether it's just a jagged cliff face and a mountain that is now in our world from a different world, or if it's a completely different house from a different city and has streets and he's looking at, he's looking at a different city that's now invaded and you have creatures, monsters, whatever. As long as you execute it in a way that is unanticipated and hasn't been seen, then like, okay, but I don't give a rip about this guy getting reincarnated. I don't like reincarnation as a narrative. I don't like that as a device, and I'm prejudiced against somebody who's reincarnated. So if he's the heir of some ancient hero, like, okay, give me a mechanism. This is a kid protagonist, so this is going to be middle grade. So, he's going to need some device for transition. Like he's something in that moment, something in that collision. What does he do? What does he take? What does he pick up? Like, what does he touch? Does he blow the horn? There's
right.
What exactly is it?
And you're saying because we
marks him as the one to do this thing. But you have the problem, and then all of the action after that seems to be unrelated from the problem at all.
Right, because then we have priests showing up to solve the terror. I guess that kind of makes sense. But then supposedly there's a slave girl as well who becomes a friend, and then they're on the run from the priest and the probably her owners, I guess, maybe the same.
I don't know.
So that's where you're saying there's just a ton going on.
When you start stacking what ifs, it's really dangerous. And so the what if the world's colliding and the tearing, what if there's an ancient hero? What if that ancient hero has been reincarnated? What if there's a dark prophecy and he's got to stop the prophecy? Oh, he's not the one prophesied. He's going to try to thwart the prophecy. There's there's just a bunch. There's just a lot of unwieldy parts. And you need to sync them up and make them all fit on the same plate and the same meal and have them gel.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Madeline L'Engle, right? If we're jumping into Charles being he's sort of the kid of the prophecy, but again, our angle into Charles's world is through his big sister, who's supposed to her.
And Charles is a terrible character.
Yeah, he's so boring and
genius.
Annoying. Yeah, annoying genius.
Yeah, here's a one of one. Unrelatable guy. So if you're serving up, if you're creating a story, you have to think about what I'm going to put over here is I'm going to put some baked beans. I'm going to put some baked beans right there. It's like, okay, what goes next to the baked beans? Fried rice. No, but good fried rice and good baked beans. I still am not.
Right. We're cookout vibes if we've got
what are you
beans.
doing? So what are you doing with the collision of worlds is very fantasy. reincarnation is like, oh, like
That's almost
where are we going?
I cannot see how that one
Priest.
fits.
So it's like I'm like, okay, so like Collision of Worlds is space time. We're doing this. You know, are we chasing Dune too much? Like it might be.
I was just wondering if they liked some of the aspects of like Sam Miracle having trouble with his memory.
Yeah.
And so they're wanting to chase a similar hero who's trying to figure out what he's doing. But
I mean, Sam Miracle's a perfect example of how I stacked a whole bunch of what ifs. But I had to because I was falling a nightmare. So the danger of what ifs is the danger of contrasting flavors that don't work. And the loss of, suspension of disbelief, and things just feel clunky or sour. They don't go well together for the reader, and the reader doesn't necessarily know why.
sure.
Colliding worlds could be done in an interesting way. Colliding worlds and characters from both of them could be done
Yeah.
in an interesting way.
Slave girl pops into your living
yes.
room after a crash.
Yeah. I'm whipping back through the Narnia Chronicles for Grace Agenda, which is this week. So it'll be already have happened by the time this drops. But reading back through the Narnia Chronicles quickly in publication order, it's actually kind of funny to see how much better he got. And so if you read them in publication order, Lucy Pevensey in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is a much better character than Lucy. In book one, Pole and Scrub, Jill and Eustace in The Silver Chair. Fantastic.
Great characters. Yeah.
Eustace has already had a long journey, and they have this very uneasy alliance. They're not even friends
Yeah.
at the start. Like he just finds her crying behind the gym, and like that's it. And they end up having
It's
to
a save the cat moment.
and they,
For Eustace.
they end up having to sync up, and then she knocks him off the cliff, and he's bitter, and so he screws up the first sign. It's like the dynamics of character mistakes and character errors. He's just better. He's so much better than he was at the beginning. And the beginning was fine. I don't have big criticisms of the first book. It's just his excellence has continued to increase. So if you were like worlds colliding, a girl from one world, a boy from the other, end up in this cataclysm, like, okay, priests from which world? Like what's going on? Where's this intersection? Where are these dynamics? And make it big enough and bad enough that on our side of the world where the boy is, they got to get this thing closed. They got to get everything back in it. They want to get this thing away from our space or whatever. But just know that you're in sci-fi. Yeah. You're in that science fiction space-time game. And if you want to try to bring in fantasy elements and write more traditional fantasy, you got to be careful.
And especially having double fantasy worlds colliding in a sci-fi way.
Yep.
Something colliding into our world.
Yeah.
We are already set. We're ready. But like our home village is remote. We're reincarnated. A priest from our world comes, like that. Yeah. Feels like a lot.
So don't do the reincarnation. You could do an heir of some ancient hero.
Just find a nice sword.
Yeah. But honestly, you'd be really best off to learn from something like Kung Fu Panda. Just go look at something that worked and look at the architecture and be like, okay, so here's a fat panda bear who's obsessed with Kung Fu and is the dragon warrior, but no one, including himself, will ever believe that. It's like, let's have this, how do you do that?
Yep.
Now think about that and think about that story and be like, okay, now let's put a colliding world into that and just realize how much mayhem you just created. So
sure.
There's this kid who is actually the dragon warrior. He's the panda bear who lives in a noodle shop with his adoptive goose dad and doesn't know he's adopted. And you've got that going on. And then it's like, but actually there's a different world and it's colliding with this world. And
right.
The two realities are tearing. It's like, well, we already have one what if this kid is this thing, and we need to set up how much of a big deal that would be for that, that dragon warrior to be found, to return. And now we have worlds colliding and a different fantasy world full of monsters. And it becomes like a different plot setup.
Right. That's a good way of looking at it.
Anyway, just don't overstack ingredients. Don't put your baked beans and your fried rice on the same plate. Try to make sure that it's not too much of a cacophony of themes and types.
If we're making burgers, they shouldn't be on naan buns. I think if we're doing an Indian. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Sure.
All right, short one.
The best barbecue burger you've ever had in a pita.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, was that one by a boy or a girl?
That sounds like a dude.
Going off the name, that is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. A headstrong girl rebels against her friend's advice and awakens an ancient evil. Now they must work together to kill off this monster that threatens to devour their world.
No concrete details there that matter in the pitch.
So you cannot yet make it famous.
No.
Sorry. Obviously that works. There's a billion stories.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay.
There are so many of them that awaken ancient evil. Speaking of Magician's Nephew.
Yeah.
Is that story?
No, the architecture of that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, against advice, she's told not to do it. Don't ring the bell. Don't wake up the witch.
Wakes up the witch.
Wakes up the witch.
Witch gets into our world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a great setup.
So don't wake up the thing. Don't put the garden hose in that hole. Don't, it's like whatever it might.
Don't cook those tater tots.
Yeah. Don't, whatever it is. If you go to stay with your uncle in the country and he says, hey, you can do whatever you want, but do not open the door in the back wall. Like whatever you do, it's like, whoa, we've all been here before.
Yeah.
Change it. Whatever you do, don't turn on the fountain. Whatever you do, don't, fill in the blank. It's the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And you're going to eat the fruit. And then there's going to be a dragon and death. And there needs to be redemption. And there needs to be people who come and crush the serpent's head. It's like that architecture is tried and true and perfect. It's the architecture God uses. And it's like a colonial house. Like, yep, you can do that. That'd be great. Who the girl is, do I care? What's the ancient evil? Do I care? How's it awakened? Well, we'll see.
How's it going to devour their world?
Yeah. And what's going to happen? What's the level of destruction?
Right.
And how are you going to...
Is it a demon boy band that's going to defeat the world
Yes.
shield?
Yes, exactly. So if you think about what you're doing, also think about making it a little bit smaller. You don't have to save the world. It doesn't have to be the entire world. It can be your uncle. It could be whatever the context is. It could be your town, your church, some group, your family. You've now jeopardized what?
Yeah.
And go there. So.
Good. All right. So my pitch is Narnia Fanfiction, where a couple modern superfans get into Narnia during a no-king period as a son of Adam, daughter of Eve. They're made regent, but quickly learn they are just terrible at it and have to unlearn all the modern presuppositions and actually have to learn about truth, goodness, and beauty through their interactions, trials, and screw-ups. Aslan is only present through the stories and laws of the Narnians, and only at the end, when the regents have to choose his ways in the face of their own utter ruin, does Aslan show up to set things right.
It's hard to express how much I hate this.
Oh, wow. No fame for this one.
I'm just more in fame. I just really don't
Make this
I just don't
infamous.
like fan fiction very much. For one. But it sounds so moralistic.
Yeah.
And Narnia is not. Like, that's what's so good about it, is that the truth is there in the architecture and the bones, and it's not trying to lecture you about modernity.
Yeah.
It's a very...
So the you can evaluate your own pitch often by like, what do you like about it? And clearly what this person likes about the pitch is it's showing up all our modern American problems with characters we already know who's good and wrong. It's the right wrong is already set up for us because it's Narnia versus.
So there's a story that went viral a couple of years ago about a woman, I think it was, who just went into an old church and started painting on tried to restore some mural. Do you know this?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And it's so worth...
like classic art?
Yeah. Went in there and started
Oh.
updating the fresco.
Maybe I did hear about this.
And it's
with the terrible faces.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's what this is. Like,
Okay.
So I want to, you know what? I need to make Narnia punch some of my enemies. And so I'm going to go into the world that Lewis created, and I'm going to bring my paintbrush and I'm going to paint my stuff. It's like, go away.
Gotcha.
No, don't do it.
That's not what Narnia is for.
No, don't walk in there and start painting your own murals on Care Paravel. You're like, that'll be the graffiti on the walls in Prince Caspian. What ruined Care Paravel? Well, it was Ted from Des Moines who actually thought that green energy was really important. And so he went in and put all the solar panels on the roof, and they just weren't engineered for that. The whole thing collapsed. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Novels are not.
But also
morals.
Don't take somebody else's world like that. Don't walk in and try to paint on somebody else's fresco and make it mean something new.
Yeah.
So, if
I don't mind if you do it, just don't show it to anyone.
You could, if you wanted to tell your kids a bedtime story, that's a much lower threshold. I could be all about that.
Sure.
I could be all about fan fiction in that context, especially with your kids' names.
Yep.
And you're telling them the story about how they went in and they screwed it up, and you're tailoring it to their weaknesses and then their lessons that they learned. A little morality tale that way is a great, that's great.
I do need to get people to send us as much Ashtown fan fiction as they've written. Just
I don't want to be a snob, right? I know that fan fiction is something that a lot of people enjoy and a way of exploring things. So it's not like it's immoral. But it is, by definition, derivative and way down the food chain. So we're now in a place where, this is not to demean Narnia, but this is something that I just noticed. It's like we're now in a place where we do echoes of artificial flavors. So
are you referring to our sparkling
no,
waters?
I'm actually not even. That's the thing. The thing that's funny is, like, I just had a chip that was like a white cheddar Dorito. And I was like, they reused some Cool Ranch in this. It's Cool Ranch with a little bit of extra stuff. And it's like, there were times when it's like, there was a flavor and the flavor was artificial, nacho cheese. And now there's an artificial echo of the nacho cheese flavor. Well, it's a little whisper of that fake flavor we had, that artificial thing. Well, now we have the artificial echo of the artificial thing, and it's this Russian doll of derivative creativity. And that's actually, I think, what fan fiction starts to do.
Nice.
So, but
There we
just
go.
don't go paint on the frescoes in Narnia. Don't do it. And if you have a chance and you haven't seen those pictures, I think it happened in Spain, but I need to actually like double check it, and it will make you laugh out loud. They're like centuries old art that this artist went in there and just non-artist went in there and just painted on.
We'll have to find that. Okay.
Restoration, it was called.
Restoration. Fan fiction. I did warn you all about sending your pitches in. You won't always get famous. All right. A determined but undersized goat defies expectations by joining an elite team in roarball, a dangerous basketball-like sport where animals compete on hazardous, ever-changing courts. With his diverse teammates, he must prove he belongs in the fierce
Diverse teammates.
league. He belongs in the fierce league.
Is this like the Steph Curry pitch?
Yeah.
Somebody just sent that in.
I just stole it and stuck it in here to see what you do with goat.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Yeah, it's just derivative.
Like,
Michael
whatever.
Jordan did it.
If it's funny enough, like somebody said, "Hey, can I make your kids a s'more by my campfire?"
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna take this graham cracker that was made in a factory and this chocolate that's mostly wax and this marshmallow that's not real marshmallow.
Yeah.
It's an artificial echo of marshmallow. And I'm gonna combine those and we'll have a nice campfire treat. Okay. It's not, everything doesn't have to be Handel's Messiah.
Yeah.
You can have some campfire s'mores. This project would be lucky to hit that level if it hits campfire s'mores. But I have learned my lesson somewhat. So, it's one of the from K-pop Demon Hunters. Just be like, that's terrible. This sounds terrible. But you know what? The right writers on it,
It's got
It
Steph
could
Curry.
still. It could. I don't care about that. I like Steph, but I don't care about him. And
He gets to be a giraffe. I think that was.
yeah, I don't care. I don't. He finally wanted to be tall.
I think that was the pitch. I actually think that's probably what people got. You know what? That kind of works.
So it's if there's the right writers, it could still be funny. It could still have some gems in there, but the setup is,
We already have the Monstars and Michael Jordan, so
it's whatever.
We don't need to do it again.
Someone's trying to trademark the word goat.
Yeah, smart.
Differently.
That is kind of
So-
smart, though.
Merch move, merch move.
That's Sony, though, so we'll find out if it's famous. Okay, story pitch. Ex-military Med-Evac helicopter pilot struggling with PTSD seeks a slower, less exciting pace of life flying Med-Evacs for a children's hospital. He's hiding from his demons as well as those closest to him, but now not only are the kids he flies threatening to worm their way into his heart, an external threat approaches that will demand every ounce of training he can remember and any courage he may have left. And she says, I'm not quite sure which direction I'm going. Oops, I said she.
Yeah.
But that was already clear because it was all relational in the pitch, not
Yeah.
plot. But Jack Ryan or War of the Worlds or pilot military career.
I'm gonna file this under Nopey.
Okay.
I think there's something here though, but because there's the possibility of an interesting character. And so if you take PTSD helicopter pilot and you make him drive a bus, he wants a more stress-free life. And so he decides to be a school bus driver, and it's actually not stress-free.
There we go.
And there's all new stress.
Yeah.
You could, there's totally something there. Also, if you're just a children's hospital medevac, you're not building a relationship with a kid that you helicopter from a car wreck to a hospital. Like that's just, there's no actual relationship going to be built there.
Yep.
You're going to land, take off, and land again, and then you're going to go fly to the next one. So if you want this dude who has been like down in 10th Street, and it's crazy, and he wants to get away from the crazy, and so he's going to do something simple. And so he moves to the suburbs, and on his, his pension and his added, injury pension, he's going to just drive a school bus and just be around his kids, more. And then have that could be really funny.
Yep.
So
that's the Vin Diesel movie, right?
Yeah.
Right? Where he's
the pacifier.
Yeah, the pacifier.
It's like you could do something there, and then the question is, where does it go, and when do they really need a school bus driver who's actually that special operator, and does that story want to go into a place that dark?
right.
So-
Because terrorists is one direction for that.
Yep.
And usually people who are watching bus driver getting a sandwich thrown at him or, that doesn't
Yeah.
go to terrorists.
So it's sort of like the kids and the the bus driver, they do this thing, but whatever you build up to in the second act, that's like kaboom, that is I don't know, that'd be hard. You'd have to find a really custom fit, and that's why ideas like this would be mostly really kind of alt world, far-fetched, comic booky, because if you took this,
you mean more of the War of the Worlds, bad guys coming in, aliens type stuff?
if you took this in a Man on Fire direction,
Oh, okay.
where it's like, oh, here's this PTSD guy struggling with alcohol, and he's got this bodyguard job,
Right. That's
And
supposed
then-
to be.
and
then-
he's inaccessible, and then he becomes friends with the little girl he's protecting, and then she's taken. It's like, okay, that's what the story is.
right.
You're doing that, you're telling that story. So is it really that? Like, she's going to get trafficked? You're going to go in this really dark direction? Like some kids get taken? What occurred that causes him to snap and then go? It could be pretty dark. And I think it's a Tony Scott film. And he kind of had that ability to do those.
It's kind of Equalizer. It's also Nobody. I feel like that
Yeah,
one's
it's-
it gets done all the time.
So anyway, I think that it could work, but you would have to be he's not flying a chopper.
Yeah.
And he's not just medevacing kids. There's not choppers that just medevac kids. It's like they medevac everybody.
They're just life flighting everyone
Yeah.
who is in danger of dying.
So if he's like, I'm going to be a different kind of driver where it's super simple, and then you're going to play on the comedy, and you're going to have that be funny, and then you're going to bond, and then he's going to start to worm his way into something and uncover some massive plot, some whatever. Okay. Like it just would have to be really compelling, and you're writing down the really gritty realism street, which has got a lot of potholes. So be careful.
Well, I mean, to me, it also seems like the other one I would do is the Hallmark movie, because the soldier background, that feels like where I've also seen this trope.
I mean, this is with the right. So that's Act 1. With the right Acts 2 and 3, this could be a Mark Wahlberg movie. But it'd have to have the right Acts 2 and 3. And what is it Family Plan? Where he's like a spy and...
Ooh, I can't remember.
But that one kind of works pretty well, actually. They do okay on that one. But it's different. You know, he's undercover in his own family, and his family has to discover who he is and join in his adventure and his survival. So yeah, it's all a question of like, are you going gritty and real and Tony Scott, Denzel, Man on Fire? Are you going to try to go Vin Diesel, Pacifier? You know,
yeah, much fun.
Have make believe spy agencies and get all hokey.
Is it Baby's Day Out where
I now I expect this to go in a real hokey direction and not the gritty Man on Fire direction, but the actual like starting seed of a character who goes from one to the other is, that's fine. And I think that could work. There could be a story there. I just wouldn't do it from chopper to chopper. And
no, that's smart. The change.
Yeah.
The real change from.
I mean, he could be driving an Uber. Like and then obviously you have to create a different character. And there are Ubers where they do special vetting of the drivers. And this is really sad for a carpool of minors. And so when parents are just even too busy to drop their kids off, it's like there's guys with special vetting, special clearances to do that. So that really gets it into a Man on Fire direction. Anyway, there's
so a billionaire's kid. There's Uber driver for a billionaire's kid. Yeah.
Yep. So there's things you could do.
Okay. Fun. A couple left. Okay. Here's the log line. They have a bigger pitch, so we can do more if you want. In a fractured post-war world where archaea, magic, has now been outlawed, a nameless boy must brave mysterious horrors and forge new connections to prevent the Dread Queen from finishing what she started.
No concrete context of any kind.
Okay, let me move to the pitch. Because it's got, I think maybe they just removed. They went to archetypes in the log line.
There's walls and a roof and windows and doors. Go ahead.
It has a main character. In a far distant future Earth, 2 decades after the Black War, where Osset the Dread raised armies of zombies to fight her battles, we could also call this Cry of Pain, this game. Okay, hold on.
Okay, sorry. Sociopath.
Yep, zombie armies. The boundaries between life and death are collapsing. Lost human souls called wanderers roam the world, making the wilds uninhabitable. Humanity's forced to remain.
Why? What do they do?
Possess you, Nate, or something. Humanity is forced to remain in cities which wanderers stay away from, and to prevent any further damage to reality, Archaea has been outlawed. Okay, because she ruined the world by magicking zombies. After the appearance of a cult promising the return...
That's a different name. I think Archaea is just magic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the appearance of a cult promising the return of the Dread Queen, our protagonist, called the Nameless Prince by others, often as an insult, a skilled adolescent with identity issues, must form new relationships and race against the clock. To find a missing man...
Which clock? Who set the clock? What clock?
He needs to find a missing man who found a way to end the Black War, which was his dad. Wow, okay, so this is the hero who had taken him in after his parents were killed.
Layers upon layers upon layers.
That's enough. I mean, a skilled adolescent with identity issues.
Is he gay? Is he not gay?
He just was not named by the author.
We call this one gay or straight. 10 years after the Black War.
We've reached Nate's max for pitch. Yeah.
No.
Too many eggs. It just doesn't. Once again, when you're setting a pitch, can you run through the ingredients that we need here? We need a doorway to walk into this world.
Nutshell. In a pitch, what I do is I do a nutshell, which is an extended log line of some kind.
Which they say they did, because they
Yeah,
got
they
the
sent that.
description. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to nutshell, and then you would, I would start mapping characters, and there'd be some kind of bigger synopsis. Now, people don't need to map characters right now, but a bigger synopsis. So what people should do, if you want to practice pitches, write pitches for existing stories. Because the fact is, any of these pitches, if you handed it to a great author, they could then go do something. If you're like, hey, Ray Bradbury, here is your assignment, and you handed this to them, would it be worth reading? Yeah, it'd be worth reading. So, because they would modify and they would inflesh and they would adjust, and then they would have really compelling characters and scenes, and the prose would be evocative, and it's like it becomes an interesting read. I've made aspiring writers read The Yiddish Policeman's Union by Shaban, and it's just conceptual and weird, but a ton of great description.
Or a really famous, I think one famous fantasy example, the Dresden Files guy wrote.
Yeah, Jim Butcher.
Yeah, Butcher was, his fantasy series was Roman legions meet Pokemon, which is a dumb pitch.
Yeah.
But he was able to write it and sell a bunch of copies, even though it's not great stuff.
Yeah.
Dresden Files, magic detective.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm going to do Raymond Chandler, but a magical detective.
Right.
In Chicago, I think it is. And it's like, okay, but, he's good enough to make it sticky enough to, people want to read it. So it's not like these pitches are out of reach for really gifted writers. But the fact is, if you're trying to write a pitch for Harry Potter, write a pitch for Star Wars, write a pitch for things that exist that worked, and test your pitch and look at it and be like, am I actually in any way delivering on the promise of the premise, or delivering the promise of the premise in this pitch? So the promise of the premise is the thing that everybody will talk about. The executed script, does it deliver on that pitch? Does the novel deliver? Now, the flip side is, does your pitch actually make a promise at all? So are you actually, like I said, the aroma, the open door, the house people want to explore? Man, I want to go in there and see what's going to happen. Like, I'm really interested in this. I'm going to pick this book up and I'm going to be like, I want to read this. Or does it need to have the author's name emblazoned on the cover? And I'm like, I trust him, so I'll check this out. So if you take books that were super successful, and then if you can't write a compelling pitch for that, then you can't write a compelling pitch for something that's unwritten that you want to write. So Star Wars worked. If you're going to try to pitch that, like, okay, pitch it. How are you going to pitch Potter? How are you going to pitch Narnia? How are you going to pitch Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
And can you write a pitch for that? So that's an excellent form of fan fiction. If you're trying to sell a book and you're like, man, I just cannot sell my book. I cannot get people to read the manuscript. I just can't get editors to take this seriously. It's like, well, work on your pitch craft.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of them reference Stranger Things. What was it that made Stranger Things work? Like, that's a tough question.
I didn't even talk about that. The collision of success with success. People love to say, this really successful thing meets that really successful thing. And it's like, okay, like which parts, what ways? And when they read the pitch, they should say, oh yeah, that is those two things. Those things meeting.
Presumably it was just, I think that was the world crashing one, where it was like, and with Stranger Things of this, our world meets the Soul Flayer's world.
Yeah. I actually just referred to somebody. I said, this one's like E.T. and Secondhand Lions meet the Outer Banks. And
what is that?
And it's like, okay.
Okay, yeah. Alien
movie, old crotchety outlaws.
Set in the Outer Banks.
Like teen treasure hunt.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, so here are comps. Now, those three are like, well, those are totally disparate flavors. It's like, well, then you read the summary right underneath that, and it better hit those beats, and people better be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, the fried rice beans problem.
Yeah, I see how these things hang together. I see why you referenced E.T. I see why you referenced Secondhand Lions. I see why you referenced this Netflix show that's kind of soapy and stupid, but really successful. You didn't just reference it because it's really successful and you want to like steal some of that success. How does this hang together? So if you can pitch Lord of the Rings short, and you're like, okay, I've got this much on a page. I'm going to give myself 250 words, 300 words max to pitch the Lord of the Rings. You should be able to do that. And you'll find that it's actually hard. And it's magnificent and great and as successful as anything could ever be. So can you pitch that? Or are you able to make a promise? Are you able to make a promise for a property? And you have to be able to do that in the pitch in order to sell your stuff. Then after that, you have to deliver on that promise. So once you've made the promise, then you better be good in execution. You can deliver on it. And I know that, we could grab a number of really talented writers. I could just pick names, but guys who we could assign these things to, and they'd be able to go do something awesome. But one of the first things they'd be revising is they'd be throwing away ingredients and like heightening themes and rearranging the pitch itself.
I didn't get into this pitch, but later there's a bunch of friends, like a wizard and an air captain and a mysterious, so like it's kind of like this team that's being built. And that feels like if I'm sniffing a pitch for ingredients that you might read about, it's like, all right, maybe a team is better than this post-apocalyptic zombie world.
Yeah.
That's actually this kid without a name. It does seem like with pitches, you have to have things that you taste that would actually be something you want more of.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, it's pretty tough to help somebody, because they'll say, well, help me revise the pitch. And then you don't have a lot to give somebody if you aren't finding things that, that waft.
Yeah. Find the protein, find the core of the entree, and then find the things around it that will accentuate
nutshell, summary, and that summary needs to be
in
character bios, and then specific character in a particular situation where you immediately know who you want to succeed.
So what I like to do is nutshell character bios, because in the character bios, I have all of their arcs, but I also am able to set up different angles on the plot, like the actual thing that happens in the world. But it enables you to capture the relationships and these dynamics.
Oh, so you don't even do here's what happens in my story.
No.
It's just
set up I do nutshell.
Yep.
Like here's a nutshell.
Nice.
And then title nutshell. And then here are my character bios of my top characters. So one I was working on last night is, here's 4 names. Actually probably 5. So here's 5 names in their bios, and you can sense their arcs, you can sense their issues, like what they're working on. And then after that, I do summary. And it could be season arc for a series, or it could be, plot summary for the novel. And that's where you're going to kind of get the structure. So that's when it's like, Howard is wherever. This happens, inciting incident, and people can kind of feel the 3 acts. But I do that after the character intros, because the thing that makes people care and interested always is character.
Right.
So even in my pitches, I start with, here's a tiny little thing. Let me introduce you to, here's, Howard and Eileen and Oliver and, this other kid and yada, yada, Elmore.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
It's like here's these components. Then now I get to my plot. These names. And now I get to these.
That prevents the plot summary from just being a string of and thens.
Yep.
Like a bad dream retelling.
Yeah. So it's, I think that's how I do it. It's not how you have to do it. It's how I do it, and I found it effective. But I found it effective for myself, especially. It exposes holes. And
well, I have a feeling we'll probably do this again, because this episode's only been out for a couple days and we got a bunch of different pitches. So as more people listen, they may send more in. And at some point, we may do another one.
Great.
Very exciting.
Fun.
Another game of Make Me Infamous.
Lay your life down. Your heartbeats cannot be hoarded. Your reservoir of breaths is draining away. You have hands, blister them while you can. You have bones, make them strain. They can carry nothing in the grave. You have lungs, let them spill with laughter. With an average life expectancy of 78.2 years in the U.S., subtracting 8 hours a day for sleep, I have around 250,000 conscious hours remaining to me, in which I could be smiling or scowling, rejoicing in my life, in this race, in this story, or moaning and complaining about my troubles. I can be giving my fingers, my back, my mind, my words, my breaths to my wife and my children and my neighbors. Or I can grasp after the vapor and the vanity for myself, dragging my feet, afraid to die, and therefore afraid to live. And like Adam, I will still die in the